Finance Committee member, small business owner, Tom Aioli is here. We've also got the Independent Women's Forum's Beverly Hallberg and Democratic strategist David Burstein. David, ending with you, begin with you. Schiff has got to give ground on one of these witnesses. I can understand if he says, all right, no to Hunter Biden, the Ukraine whistleblower, even though you could make a case that might be a legitimately interesting, interview. But he can't ignore all of them, can he?
I think that's correct, and I think, frankly, it takes off the table this idea that it's not a fair hearing if he says, here are some witnesses, we're not going to approve all of these, we're going to approve some of them. Tim Morrison, particularly at the NSC, it seems like a fair person to call. Hunter Biden is not material to whether he wasn't on the phone call, he hasn't talked to President Trump. As far as we know, the scope of the inquiry does not involve Hunter Biden, but it's obvious why they want to put that on, as was just discussed, because the Republicans are trying to take this in a different direction to talk about a bunch of unrelated issues that are not part of the scope of this inquiry. And actually, I think that's
the whole phone call of itself, if memory serves me right, Tom, was based on the Biden dealings in Ukraine. Now, the Republicans obviously want to put that front and center to sort of get it out there and understand that this is why the president was making the call in the first place. Where do you see this going?
Well, listen, I think that, this is America. You're innocent until proven guilty, and I think you have to give the president his day in court. And to block witnesses in this process, I think that would be an injustice to the president, and I think it would be an injustice to our Constitution. I think those witnesses have to come forward. Biden was a subject of the phone call, and I think he needs to be on the stand. I think he needs to be questioned as to, listen, Trump was just, in my eyes, the president was just trying to call out someone who's doing something wrong. And I don't think it's an impeachable offense.
All right. You could always raise the question, too, would he have been as interested if this were anyone but Joe Biden? I mean, that's the debate. No.
Correct. And when it comes to anybody related to Biden, those witnesses are not going to be called forward. I agree. I think it's a smart move by Republicans to put their names forward, because what we're going to hear next week, we're going to hear from Jim Jordan, the representative who has moved over to the Intelligence Committee, former wrestling coach, who is going to be grilling the witnesses. In addition to trying to cloud their testimony and cast a shadow of doubt about the third-party information that he's going to bring up, say this is all third-party, he also is going to do something in addition to that and bring up the fact that the Democrats have made this very political, including not bringing forward some of the witnesses that the GOP has put forward. So I think this is a smart move by Republicans. They're being extremely strategic, because at the end of the day, this is about public opinion and who's going to win over the public.
And what public opinion surveys we had on the matter look worrisome for Democrats, right? I mean, there's a limit to how much they can see beyond this not looking like a political witch hunt, to quote the president. Now, some of them have raised eyebrows about wondering why the president made the call, but it's not moving Republicans. It's not budging Democrats. Democrats, by and large, are supporting this process. Republicans overwhelmingly not. So is it moving the needle here?
Well, if you look at the polls on this, the needle has moved some on this. And I think the reality is most Americans out there are doing whatever they're doing. They're focusing on their jobs and their life and their day-to-day.
Shouldn't Democrats be focusing?
Well, but I think the reason this will change potentially next week is there'll be public hearings. These will be televised. People might actually start paying attention when they actually see these people come. What would be the smoking gun here? See, that's what I had trouble finding. The smoking gun, they would say, all right, the president made this call and there was a de facto cause and relationship, a quid pro quo with this, for that, whatever you want to do. Worst case, would someone seize on that and say, impeach the guy?
I don't think they have a smoking gun, and I think that the American public is tired of this. I think they've seen the Kavanaugh hearings. They've seen the Mueller hearings. I think they're tired of it.
Do you think they're tired of it?
I think they are, and I don't think we're going to hear new information. And this is where Democrats have overplayed their hand. You can look at the Robert Mueller testimony, and when he went before Congress, it was a disaster for the Democrats.
It is interesting to note that this whole thing started with Mueller and the probe and all, but none of this week is going to be about Mueller. It's all about this.
But this is also why Nancy Pelosi has been so hesitant for this to come forward. I think what we're going to hear next week is probably nothing new, and that is a problem for Democrats who want to make this all about impeachment. And remember, when this goes to the Senate, it's likely that the House will impeach him, and then the Senate, I think the House will continue to move forward with that. The Senate can drag this out up until Election Day. So I think this comes down to whether or not this is going to turn the tide for who people go out and vote for. I really think unless there's a smoking gun, this actually works in the president's favor.
She's not the first to say that. And David, there are a number of Democrats we're told who have been urging Nancy Pelosi, can we wrap this up? Is there a way you could say you've done your due diligence, you've got ahead and got the public hearings going, there was no way to advance this, so we're dropping this?
Well, I
Too far
think
gone.
then you're certainly accused of a witch hunt because you didn't actually hear the testimony and go through the process. I think they have to go through the process.
Oh, no, they'll hear it. They'll hear all this
Right,
testimony,
right.
but then they'll conclude that we don't have enough to go on beyond this.
I think the reality is all signs point towards moving towards impeachment in the House and then to the Senate. But I think that what's important to remember here
Do you think
is
that move alone would be deemed to be disastrous for Democrats?
I think Democrats have to do what they think is right, even if there are political consequences. If Democratic House members believe the president committed impeachable offenses, this is their constitutional duty and responsibility to vote that way.
Don't they hate him so much? Whether it's right or wrong, they're going to do it. That is what boomerangs on him.
That may be so, and then people may think he's done other things, Charlottesville comments, et cetera, that they deem impeachable offenses. I think that we would have a lot of debate.
At straws field, doesn't it?
I think the reality is that Democrats have on this particular issue something that a lot of them feel with a lot of conviction, including a lot of people with national security backgrounds. That was a big tipping point in this. People who got elected who have military backgrounds said, this is impeachable, this is wrong, this is a danger to our national security.
All I hear, Tom, is it's a waste of time.
Yeah, I think it's a waste of time. I think that it is clearly a witch hunt. I think when it comes down to
But remember, the Nixon one started out as what appeared to be a witch hunt.
It did, but I think it's going to get dragged out. I think it's going to get dragged out to the election, and I think when it comes to election time, people are going to vote with their pocketbooks. Look at the economy. We're in one of the greatest growth periods in the history of our country. The stock market is booming.
Well, the president should be up by 10 points in the polls then.
Right?
And he's not.
Well, he's not right now because he has some headwinds.
We'll see. Guys, I want to